as an individual and on other U.S. officials. I wonder if you could elaborate a little bit on that. Thank you.
我发现咱们的媒体朋友其实很多人都非常关心，如何反制的问题，我们能够充分的理解，因为我相信从大家的问题当中呢，也能感受得到，大家都认为他的这一行动是极其错误的，应该遭到惩罚。佩洛西众议长不顾中方的强烈反对和严正的交涉，执意窜访中国台湾地区，严重违反一个中国原则和中美3个联合公报规定，严重的冲击中美关系的政治基础，严重侵犯中国的主权和领土完整，严重破坏台海和平稳定，向台独分裂势力发出严重的错误信号。中国外交部、全国人大、全国政协、中央台办、国防部昨天晚上呢，都第一时间发表了声明或者谈话予以谴责。外交部副部长谢锋第一时间召见了美国驻华大使伯恩斯，中国驻美大使秦刚第一时间向美国白宫国安会以及国务院都提出了严正的交涉。今天上午呢，王毅国委员呢也就此发表了谈话。中方呢将采取一切必要措施，坚决地捍卫国家的主权和领土完整，由此产生的一切后果都由美方和台独分裂势力负责，我们说到做到。至于你关心的具体的反制措施，我可以告诉你的是，该有的都会有，有关措施将是坚决、有力和有效的。美方和台独势力他们会持续感受到的。我还想强调的是，回望每一次美方主动对中方挑起的挑衅，结果无一不是自取其辱、自食其果。最新的一个例子就是佩洛西等煽动香港黑暴势力，鼓吹所谓美丽风景线，但恰恰加速了香港由乱及治、由治及兴，使东方明珠重新
elements and violent forces. And she advocated a so-called beautiful sight to behold, but that actually gave reason to Hong Kong to expeditiously end chaos and restore order and prosperity in Hong Kong. And that helped restore the luster to the Pearl of the Orient, as Hong Kong is called. This time there is no exception. And when people like Nancy Pelosi try to collude with the Taiwan independence forces to use Taiwan to contain China and undermine China's sovereignty and territorial integrity, it will only be in vain and will not stop China's reunification process. As State Council has said, there will be nothing that will come out of the acts of the U.S.
我们也注意到，联合国秘书长发言人杜加里克
We noted the spokesman for Secretary General of the UN, Stephen Dujarric, said the policy of the UN on the Taiwan question is that we are guided by the Resolution 2758 from 1971. We also noted that some other people in other countries also voiced support for China. Some noted that Taiwan will not become more secure because of this imprudent visit, and it will even lead to worse consequences. What's your comment?
佩洛西串台
Indeed, as you said, following the visit by Speaker Pelosi to the Taiwan region, people of different levels and different countries and different professional backgrounds have spoken up to condemn her wrongful, foolish, and reckless visit to the Taiwan region and express their support for the One China principle and their support for China's efforts to uphold its sovereignty and territorial integrity, which is fully legitimate. Before I came here today, I asked my colleagues to collect what has been said by these people, which are truly touching to read. For instance, the press secretary of the Russian Foreign Minstry has made a statement, and the chairman of the Federal Parliament of Russia and other leaders have expressed their support for China to do everything necessary to uphold China's sovereignty and territorial integrity. And they have also reiterated that the cross-strait relations are purely China's internal affair. And the statement of Belarus said that the U.S. is being irresponsible by having Speaker Pelosi visiting Taiwan, and that has intensified tensions across the strait. And Belarus supports peaceful development of relations across the strait on the basis of the One China principle, and also supports China's measures for reunification. And also the DPRK had a statement fully supporting the Chinese government's efforts to uphold sovereignty and territorial integrity. It also said that the U.S. attempt to stop China's reunification will certainly fail, and Iran's Foreign Ministry spokesperson said in the statement that the visit is another example of U.S. policy of interfering in other countries' internal affairs, and that would only further undermine regional peace and stability. And the Syrian statement says that Syria, using the strongest language, would like to seriously condemn the upgraded provocation of the U.S. against China. And Syria supports China's opposition to Pelosi's visit. And the U.S.'s irresponsible behavior reflects that the U.S. has been committed to nothing but disrupting East Asia and elsewhere in the world, and that threatens world peace and tranquility. And also, Palestine and Nicaragua have also issued statements saying that when Speaker Pelosi flies on a military aircraft into the Taiwan region, this is a provocation, and China will certainly make the right response, and such provocations will only make China stronger, and that Nicaragua supports China's efforts to uphold sovereignty and territorial integrity, and the government of Nicaragua urges U.S. to stop provocations. As you mentioned, the spokesperson of the United Nations Secretary General reiterated the UN's commitment to the One China principle, which was laid down in Resolution 2758, adopted by the General Assembly in 1971. And also, the League of Arab States put out a readout and a statement on its official website that the Arab League supports China's sovereignty and territorial integrity and firmly upholds the One China principle. And also main political parties in Tunisia said on social media platforms that no country has the right to interfere in China's internal affairs, and the Pelosi's visit will only further damage the image of the United States. And it also believes that the United States has made its fortune by plundering other countries, and when it cannot win through fair competition, it would play gambits like this. This is nothing surprising. So those are some of what I have seen out there, and also some former political leaders of some countries, including people in the United States. For instance, Ambassador Max Baucus, who used to be the U.S. ambassador to China, he said that Speaker Pelosi is playing with fire, and touching the red line will lead to paying its price. And also people from Egypt, South Africa, and Madagascar have also spoken up on this. And also New Zurich Times and news agencies from Latin America, the Bahamas, etc., have said that Speaker Pelosi's visit will trigger regional instability, and the United States' rationale is not convincing at all. It only reveals the United States' provocative nature of those activities. and this will only worsen the international situation, which is already suffering from the Ukraine crisis and the COVID pandemic. Also, a website in Uzbekistan issued a report saying that the visit by Speaker Pelosi is about provoking China against the backdrop of a downward economy in the United States. And also, surveys conducted in Taiwan found 2/3 of the people in Taiwan not supportive of Speaker Pelosi's visit to Taiwan, saying that it will only undermine peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait. So these are people's voices within the past few hours following Speaker Pelosi's visit to Taiwan. So people are quite clear-eyed about the impact of the visit. People know that this is a very ugly political stunt, and it will not change the historical and the legal facts that Taiwan belongs to China, and will not stop the reunification process, and will not reverse the fact that 181 countries have diplomatic ties with China on the basis of the One China principle.
谢谢发言人。深圳卫视执新闻记者植。
Shenzhen TV. My question is about Kosovo. The Kosovo authorities would issue RKS license plates for Serbs and also grant temporary documents to people entering Kosovo holding Serbian IDs. The move has escalated regional tension. What's your comment?
关于科索沃问题，中方的
Now about the Kosovo issue, our consistent view is that the best way is for parties concerned to have dialogue and reach a mutually acceptable political solution within the framework of the UN Security Council resolutions. The sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity of Serbia should be fully respected, and the parties concerned should continue with practical and constructive dialogue to actively seek a permanent and lasting solution to the Kosovo issue.
谢谢发言人。
路透社提问。中国军方表示将会在台湾周围区域进行精准行动，有些包括了台湾的内水。据联合国海洋法，这是不被允许的。台湾说，这个是非常危险的行为，会危及受国际法保护的自由航行权利。你对此何回应？
关于中国军方。
About the actions taken by the Chinese military, I'm sure that you have seen the statements made by the spokespersons of the Chinese military and the Eastern Theater Command, and I would say that they are aimed at deterring the Taiwan independence forces, so they are fully legitimate. And as about the issue of freedom of navigation in the relevant waters, we have never seen the freedom suffering any problems, so I suggest that you should pay attention to why the U.S. military aircraft should fly thousands of miles from homeland to flex muscles at the doorstep of China. And also for the U.S. side, I suggest them not to mention the UNCLOS, because before doing that, they should first and foremost ratify and join UNCLOS.
谢谢发言人。总台央广提问。那么
CNR. A question about the nuclear contaminated water in Fukushima. The Japanese Prime Minister said during his remarks at the 10th Review Conference that Japan will continue to have close cooperation with the IAEA and the international community and to push forward relevant efforts in accordance with domestic law and international security standards. What's your comment?
关于
I've noticed relevant reports on this issue. China has made its position very clear many times, and we are seriously concerned and firmly opposed to the unilateral decision of the Japanese government to discharge nuclear contaminated water into the ocean, and the Chinese delegation made this position abundantly clear again at the review conference of the NPT. And since that wrong decision of the Japanese government was made in April last year, the international community, including people within Japan, have been questioning and opposing that decision, and the international community has a widespread concern that the nuclear contaminated water could result in negative effect on the marine environment and public health in the countries along the coasts of the Pacific Ocean. And they have also been questioning the legitimacy of the water discharge plan, the reliability of Japan's data, and the effectiveness of the purification equipment and the environmental impact. The IAEA has sent a technical task force twice to Japan, and so far there has been no conclusive opinion on Japan's proposal. They have also made many requests for clarification and also recommendations for improvement. So Japan is being extremely irresponsible by disregarding the concerns of relevant parties and pushing forward its proposal. So we urge Japan to seriously respond to the concerns of its people and international community, and also fully honor its international obligations to have full consultation with stakeholders and relevant international agencies, and found a proper way to treat the water in a scientific, open, transparent, and safe way. And before that, Japan should not go ahead with the discharge plan by itself.
Wall Street Journal earlier.
华尔街日报，佩洛西今早和台湾立法院的蔡其昌举行会面。他说，台湾如何处理新冠疫情是一个很好的例子。你对此有何回应？
就是。
Well, I think you know the answer to that question. Taiwan has never been a country. So historically and legally speaking, it has been a province of the People's Republic of China.
From AFP.
法新社提问，还有个关于军事演习的问题。有报称，有一些中方计划的10大演习海域包括了日本的专属经济区。中方是否担心有可能会和他国的舰机进行产生没有意料之外的这个冲突？
中国军队在中国台湾岛。
The military exercises carried out by the Chinese military in the waters off China's Taiwan island is a necessary and a legitimate step in response to the major provocation by some U.S. politicians and Taiwan independence forces, and to firmly uphold China's sovereignty and territorial integrity. China has beforehand issued safety alerts and navigation warnings, and China and Japan have not yet delineated the boundaries in relevant waters, so China does not accept the so-called Japan's EEZs in those waters. So China urges Japan to uphold the One China principle and the spirit of the 4 political documents between the 2 countries, and be prudent on Taiwan and do not interfere in Taiwan Strait in any way. And I have noticed that actually there have been statements made by the military of other countries, so let me just add a few points. Yesterday, many of you raised questions about China-US communication, whether there is any. So I think you have noticed that during the past few days, on many levels and through various channels, we have expressed our position very clearly to the US side, but apparently the US side and the Taiwan independence forces have not listened to what we have been stressing to them. So as a result, the Chinese military had to use ways that they could listen to and understand to communicate with them. But on the situation surrounding Pelosi's visit, the U.S. made provocations first, and China was compelled to act in self-defense. And the root cause of the tensions in the Taiwan Strait is that the Taiwan authorities have been trying to use America's strength to seek Taiwan independence. And I think what has happened has fully shown that the One China principle is what underpins the peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait. When the One China principle is honored, then the situation is calm. But when the principle is being undermined, there would be fierce storms and very dark clouds over the Taiwan Strait. So if the parties concerned and the individuals concerned, including friends from the press, are truly concerned about peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait, then maybe you should say to the U.S. officials and to the Taiwan authorities about the need for them to strictly abide by the One China principle. And that is how we can truly see peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait. So any more questions?
有很多中国人对中国没有采取更多具体行动阻止佩洛西访台表示了失望。中国外交部是否应该引导民众更理性地看待，以更好地发展中美关系？
我注意到，的确。
As I have noted that indeed maybe it has been a sleepless night yesterday for many people, and they were following very closely the developments of Speaker Pelosi's flight. That flight successfully attracted global attention. But I would like to say that for the Chinese side, with actions and our statements, we have made our serious position clear. And also, once again, people can see that the U.S. politicians could put up a political stunt for their personal selfish gains in disregard of regional peace and stability. And China has the right to uphold its sovereignty, territorial integrity, and security interests. And also, we care deeply about regional peace and stability. And as for the specific countermeasures we would be taking, I think I've been quite clear just now. The Chinese side is deeply committed to upholding our sovereignty, territorial integrity, and security interests. We are determined to do that, and there should be no questions about that. So our countermeasures will be strong, effective, and resolute. Those from the United States and those Taiwan independence elements, they will gradually and persistently feel those countermeasures. And I think our people are rational when they're being patriotic, and our government is firmly committed to defending our sovereignty, and I think we have the confidence of our Chinese people. And I advise that people read carefully the history of the centenary of the Communist Party of China. We have been through a lot, but we have achieved a lot as well, and we are very confident in the future of our party.
Question from Associated Press of Pakistan.
巴通社提问：巴西总理在近期和中国驻巴大使会面的时候提到，希望双方共同合作，完全释放中巴经济走廊的潜力。对此有回应。
We highly appreciate the Prime Minister's statements, and he values Pakistan's relations with China, and he has many times reaffirmed that Pakistan will push ahead the building of CPEC with New Pakistan speed. And after he took office, he has been to Guadalajara port twice, and he has hosted seminar between the Pakistani side and Chinese companies. And he has done so much for our practical cooperation. So with the guidance of the leaders of both countries and with our concerted efforts, we are seeing a lot of progress being made on CPEC. And we are ready to further implement well the understandings between the leaders of our two countries, and building on what we have achieved and current projects. We will further focus on industrial development, people's livelihoods, agriculture, science and technology, and information technology, etc., to make CPEC into a demonstration project for high-quality Belt and Road cooperation. This will go a long way for China-Pakistan relations and China-Pakistan community with a shared future, and also the well-being of the two countries and the people around the region.
Thank you. O Globo Brazil.
巴西环球邮报，您刚才提到一个中国原则是中美两国关系的基础，那么现在佩洛西访台严重违反了这个原则。你是否认为有必要对中美关系做出根本性的改变？
你说的非常对，一个
I think you're absolutely correct that the One China principle is the most important political prerequisite and foundation for any diplomatic relations that we have with other countries, including the United States. And over the past 40 plus years, the relationship between China and the United States has been generally stable. And I think for most people in our two countries and almost all people in the world hope to see a sound and stable China-US relationship. I think for any government that is responsible, it would be willing to follow the trend of history and also to listen to public opinion. So the US government really needs to stop trying to hollow out the One China principle and stop violating the One China principle. This would be a wrong path, and it needs to stop following this wrong path. This would be the right choice that is in the interest of people around the world. But also, as we have said, we always follow the principles of mutual respect and win-win cooperation in developing friendly relations with the United States and other countries. However, on the One China principle and issues concerning our core interests and sovereignty and territorial integrity, there is no room for us to compromise. So we hope that the US government will be very clear about that.
Another question from AFP.
法新社，中国海关今天提到将会暂时取消对台一些产品的进口，因为出于健康问题的考虑。您能否说一下这是不是出于惩罚台湾？
具体的问题呢？
Well, those are very specific matters, so I would like to refer you to the competent authorities in China. But one thing I would like to say is that the US side and the Taiwan independence forces must take responsibility for the wrongful behavior and pay the price for that.
总台央视中文国际频道记者提问：近日阿尔及
CCTV, Algerian president said in a recent interview that his country could join BRICS and meet a good part of the criteria. Do you have any comment?
金砖国
Since the inception of the BRICS mechanism, it has been closely tied with the future of the emerging markets and the developing countries. Today, as the world goes through a complex situation, including once-in-a-century changes, an ongoing pandemic, and international hotspots, it is important for BRICS countries to strengthen cooperation with other emerging markets and developing countries so that we can be united and we can work together to address the common challenges that we face, and this will help us achieve development and prosperity together. In recent years, Algeria and some other countries have expressed their willingness to join BRICS, and China is this year's BRICS chair, and we actively support the launch of the expansion process of BRICS countries to expand BRICS plus cooperation. And at the 14th BRICS summit held in June, the leaders of the 5 BRICS countries spoke with one voice on this issue and supports discussions on standards and procedures for enlargement. So we will work with other BRICS partners to steadily advance this process so that more partners can join the BRICS family.
还有问题吗？
Any more questions? Please.
发言人你好，合同特色社记者提问。
Test reports said that at the UN meeting, German foreign minister said that if China's mainland invade Taiwan, the Germany will provide support. What's your comment?
你的中文真的非常好。
Well, I have to say that you speak excellent Chinese. I really hope that if you can, maybe foreign journalists like you can have a clearer understanding of the logics behind China's foreign policy, and speaking our language certainly helps you achieve that. And let me respond to your question by saying that about what the Foreign Minister of Germany mentioned on the sidelines of the MPT review conference, what he talked about breaking international law and invading weak neighbors. Well, I think her words reflects a lack of common sense, and it is not based in facts. Because for some time now, certain politicians have been making irresponsible remarks, and we have rejected those remarks. And about the Foreign Minister's wrongful remarks about China, we certainly oppose that. And the historical ins and outs and legal facts on Taiwan question are crystal clear, and no one or no force can deny or distort them. At the end of the Second Cold War, the Cairo Declaration in 1943 and the Potsdam Proclamation in 1945 have been very clear about China's rights over Taiwan. And I quote, "All the territories Japan has stolen from the Chinese, such as Taiwan and the Penghu Islands, shall be restored to China." End of quote. And also, as I just said, in UN's Resolution 2758 in 19 of China to the UN. And also, the Taiwan question is China's internal affair, and we will not allow any intervention from foreign forces. Some people compare Ukraine to Taiwan. This is mixing the concepts and misleading the public. So this is an interference in China's domestic affair, and we will definitely not accept that. The One China principle is a universally recognized norm in international relations, and also the political basis and fundamental prerequisite for China's relations with other countries. Breaking that principle will undermine bilateral relations, so we hope Germany will have an objective and accurate understanding of the Taiwan question and do not follow the United States' steps and have concrete action to abide by that policy. So that concludes today's press conference. Thank you.